All right. We are live, everybody.
Awesome.
Welcome, everyone.
Oh, what just happened?
Sorry about
Oh,
that. I'm back. Technical glitches. I don't know what just happened. Literally
I was
just
like, Rachel just disappeared.
here you go, Jenny. You can go live by yourself. Love it. I keep having technical glitches this week. It's all good. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy Friday, TGIF. I'm so excited to be here. I'm really, really excited to bring you guys a wonderful special guest. This is Jenny. And Jenny completed season 3 of my workshop, and she has all sorts of exciting things going on. So I'm just going to hit it off. I'm just going to ask you, Jenny, if you can just introduce yourself to the group and just let people know a little bit about yourself.
All right. Um, I live in California, not too far from Rachel. And I'm a nurse coach. I work with women who are going through transition periods. So like having a baby or going through a divorce or empty nesters. It's kind of ranged a retirement with what I've worked with women around. And I still do 1 day per diem at a local hospital. And recently I started doing community yoga there as well. So I got to do that this morning. So that was fun.
That is so awesome. So tell me more about that. So you're doing yoga for the nurses at the hospital that you work at?
So right now it is like the senior community. So it's kind of like the community around the hospital. And then we're building it to include, it'll be including like hospital staff as well. Um, but with my schedule and their schedule, it's kind of like a soft start right now, but it's building. I have people coming, so it's exciting.
Ah, that is so cool. I love that. I love that. I would have loved to have yoga classes when I was working bedside. They did bring us massage therapists sometimes, so that was always really
Um,
nice. But yeah, yoga is awesome. So cool. Love it. Yeah, so I would love to ask you a little bit about your writing practice. So again, you
yeah.
participated in my workshop. You had this vision of creating a book. Do you want to talk a little bit about that to the group?
Yeah. So I was watching you and like your posts and what your group was starting to look like. And I like what really brought me in is like I really wanted that creativity. I felt like I was struggling with it. And it was more when we started, like those first like uh, or just before, I guess I can't remember exactly, but I got this idea for a book, and I'm like, I really want it to come out as quickly as possible because it's like by nurse coaches for nurse coaches. I remember when I started out and I was like discovering what a nurse coach is and learning about the collective and joining the collective. I wanted all the books, and I was given like the Prosperous Coach and When All Boats Rise, and I read that, and it was really helpful and great to hear about what coaches are doing and in different areas. But I really wanted like what are nurse coaches doing? I wanted to hear nurse coaching stories and what work they're doing and the impact that they're having. So the idea for this book is very similar to when all boats rise, and bringing in different nurse coaching perspectives and stories and putting that together for the nurse coaching team. And it started, I was able to do that during our time together. And at this point, it's a work in progress. And I still need to invite nurse coaches in to help create and build this book, but it's really exciting. I never really thought before this that I would actually even try writing a book.
Yeah, yeah. That's a huge win. And I love the idea for your book. It's almost like Chicken Soup for the Soul, but like the nurse coach edition, you know?
Yes.
And it's really cool to just collect those stories. So if there's anyone watching that has a nurse coach story that they feel they want to share, reach out to Jenie.
Yes.
But it's like, when we think about writing a book, it can be very intimidating. It can be very overwhelming. It's like a book is a big project. But what I love about your project is you're sort of breaking it down into smaller pieces. So you're helping share other people's stories. Obviously, your story will be showcased in there, but it's a way to sort of break down that overwhelming project into smaller, bite-sized, more accessible kind of pieces, so that it's, it feels a little bit more doable.
Yeah. And you were so helpful with our time together and like sharing guidance and like the writer's hour. That's been so helpful of me actually sitting down during a certain time and working on it. With the summer and vacation and all the things, I haven't been as diligent, but
We don't get derailed in the summer.
Yes, but it's been great to have that space with like there's hundreds of people on there just to write, and that's inspiring too, to just be able among that group of people and just everyone's writing in some form or another.
Yeah. So what Jenny's talking about, I'm just going to give a plug for this London Writer Salon. This is like a writing group, and it's 100% free. And they have every day, like 2 or 3 different writing groups. And it's like, you come into the group, they do like a little intro, inspirational quote, and then it's quiet for like 50 minutes. And then you actually just write together. And it's amazing how having that container, having that space where other people are writing alongside you is just like so motivating. And I'm actually going to start doing some of my own. The end of August, I actually have a couple dates that I'm like putting on the schedule. Yeah. Because I'm like, this is so valuable to me. And there's all sorts of different approaches. Some people really like to write alone, but to me, I always just find it really valuable to even just be on a Zoom call with other people that are writing at the same time as me. So that's super, super valuable. And I'm so glad that you're making progress. And yes, we totally get derailed in the summer, and there's no reason that we can't get back on the horse. So
for sure. The morning pages help with the derailment, because at least I feel like something's getting, like I'm still writing, something's getting put on a page. And then it also reminds me, like, this is a project that I'm wanting to work on sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's still there. It's still there. I'll give you a kick in the pants in a couple months if you need.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So speaking of the morning pages, I would love to ask you about that. Tell us a little bit more about how the morning pages have impacted you and what your practice looks like, your daily writing practice.
So it's usually one of the first things I do in the morning. And it's always hit or miss on whether I get the full 3 pages or if I'm just getting like 1.5 pages done. But it very much, as you kind of like discovered throughout our season, was it's very much a place for me to process things and get things out and clarified, and just work through whatever's going on during the time. Like during the season, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for homeschooling and I was going to different schools, and a lot of that was like all the morning pages, like, what am I going to do? Or like, what's best and what is going to work with our schedule the most? And not that it is always like that, but it is often me, word vomiting onto the page of what is going on during that time.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I remember when you were dealing with that, when you were trying to make all these decisions about your kids, like homeschooling, all of that. And it's something that I really like to emphasize to people, is that the morning pages, yes, it's for writing like your deepest thoughts and feelings and fears, but it's also for writing the shopping list. Like it's also for like strategically just like working through the basic day-to-day, the stuff that comes up. And it's amazing how much lighter and clearer we feel after we get those thoughts on the page. And it's an amazing place to also kind of like coach yourself and walk yourself through things. So I'm so glad that you were able to use it as a tool to like figure that out and work through all of that.
Yes, for sure. It's been so helpful. And like I said, it's also not just therapeutic, but it's also that reminder that I want to do more different kinds of writing too. So it's kind of that boost to help me do the other things.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Yeah. So I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else to ask. I feel like we covered so much. I'm like, all the highlights for you. What were some of
Mhm.
the challenges that came up for you around writing? Like, I know a lot of people face a lot of resistance when they commit to a writing practice, when they try to write. This has been my own experience where it's like, I want to write, I want to write. And then for years, I would journal sporadically. So, what were some of your challenges around creating a writing practice?
Um, I think the challenges came up with um, feeling like, I think at first I felt like whatever I wrote about had to be inspiring or good, or I don't know, worth writing about. But it was helpful when starting the morning pages. It literally could be like that grocery list or whatever was coming up. It didn't matter what was ending up on the page as long as I was writing. So I think that was very helpful, that I didn't have to feel like this had to be super important. It had to be worthy of publishment, or publishing anything, and it could just be words on the page as long as I was it didn't have to be big. So sometimes if things feel too big, then we don't start. But if it feels doable, then we can build up to um, doing those 3 pages all the time. So, um, and and feeling safe. That was one thing, like a big thing throughout the season, is felt very safe sharing my writing, like even posting a picture for you to read. That one day I was in the car, um, and like there's nervousness about, like, oh my gosh, my writing is like, is it legible enough? And
Right.
but like I got to the point where that container felt safe, that I could share my thoughts, that I could share even my writing for you to read, if needed, if that was what needed to happen that uh, coaching day. But um, they, I think that's one of the biggest things, is it felt safe to be expressive. It felt safe to share. And the other ladies in our group were just wonderful. And it's so fun to hear their writing and from their perspective on like the same question and the different directions that they go. Like that was just a great group to be with as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's that. I love what you mentioned about like the safety piece, and then also like the piece about there's a huge block to writing when we feel like, oh, it needs to be brilliant, like it needs to be
Yeah.
like award winning, everything that comes out of us. And it's like, that's not how it works. And every single great writer who talks about writing, and we're talking the whole gamut, we're talking about people who write memoir, people who write fiction, people who write nonfiction, everyone has blocks to writing. And one of the huge things that blocks us from writing is feeling like it needs to be brilliant. And, Anne Lamott, who's like a wonderful writing teacher, she talks about butt and chair time. Like, just get your butt in the chair and just write. And it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Editing, revising, all that stuff can come later. And
Hmm.
the point is to just get it out. And, I took a drawing course last year, and I remember he made us spend like a ridiculous amount of time, like drawing circles on a page. And I remember thinking, like, really? Like, can we like move on to the real drawing? And it's like, no, like you need to loosen your wrists. Like you need to get used to just moving the pen on the page. Like you need to just make it ugly. Like you need to get used to making ugly art before you can make beautiful art. And so we need to get into a mode where we can dump our thoughts, even if it's annoying or
Yeah.
whiny or it's the shopping list or it's not legible, any of that doesn't matter. The point is that that is how we get ourselves to a place where we feel safe and we feel comfortable to write, and it evolves naturally. So it's just really, really powerful, the morning pages, how it can shift our perspectives, especially for people who struggle with perfectionism. And I am guilty of
Hmm.
that. And it's like, it needs to be perfect, and it needs to be wonderful, it needs to be shiny, it needs to be gorgeous. And it's like, well, maybe, but like you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
If you don't write, then you're not going to have anything to work with. And we need to start somewhere. And so much of morning pages is learning to let go of the perfectionism, learning to embrace our ugly side, learning to embrace that part of us that maybe, we're uncomfortable with. So it's super, super powerful. And it's a really, really transformative practice. So
Yeah. Well, there's this like relief. There's this relief that it doesn't have to be perfect. That there's, that you can just be and enjoy whatever it is that's coming out at that moment.
Yeah, and how powerful if we could like translate that over to all areas of our life, right? Like to just
Yes.
learn how to be instead of trying to like make everything perfect all the time. It's so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I've noticed that I go through pens so fast. Like my pen died yesterday as I was
Yes.
writing my morning page. And I'm like, no, I like this one. So I keep noticing my pens die a lot faster now than they used to.
Totally. It's so funny you say that because when I started doing morning pages, my pens would run out quickly. And I was like, you know what? I just decided when my pen runs out of ink, it's a sign of good luck. So now every time my pen runs out of ink, I'm like, it just like the heavens open and the birds sing, even though it's just like a pen dying. But it's just, to me, it's really emblematic. I didn't used to run out of pen so quickly, but I'm moving through thoughts. I'm putting them on the page. I'm writing. And it's like, again, I could get all caught up in like, well, I haven't written the book yet. And I haven't done this. And I wanted to publish and I want to do all these things. But it's like, every single day my pen is moving across the page, or actually more or less lately it's actually I do it on the computer, but the point is that I'm doing it, I'm writing, and it's so powerful. On that topic, I'm curious actually, do you always do your morning pages by hand or do you ever use the computer, and do you notice a difference?
So I kind of gone back and forth. So a couple years ago, there was like this moment of I want to start journaling again, and I was being really good about it, but it was all on the computer. I was like, I don't want to write. I just want to do it on the computer. So I thought it was interesting when I started doing morning pages. I was more drawn to paper and pen. So I usually do it mostly paper and pen for the most part. And I don't know if there's something about the action of doing it with writing it out that's making it feel good at this point. Will it always be that way? I don't know. It might switch over to the computer. And I think one of the great things you do too is you like give permission to us to, where however we're writing, like the most important thing is we're writing, whether it's on the computer or on a notebook. And so I think that made me feel like I could try paper and pen again. So mostly paper and pen at this point with the morning pages, but like all my other writings on the computer.
Yeah, and that's advice that I give to people when they're feeling stuck with their morning pages. They're like, I'm not feeling it. I'll say, switch it up. Like if you were doing it pen and paper, try the computer and vice versa. And I do that all the time. I skip back and forth. Lately, I mostly do the computer just because it's faster. And I guess I'm always in a rush. But this week, it's funny, I took like 3 days off. I did not do my morning pages because we traveled, and that's rare for me to go like a whole 3 days without writing, but I'm totally okay with it. I embrace it. I'm like, it's all good. And then when I came back, I was like, okay, time to do my morning pages. I'm like, let me try the handwritten, and it just feels different. It's like a somatic thing. Like it's just a different experience. Like my voice, it's almost like I have a voice on the computer and a voice in my notebooks. It's so interesting. And yeah, there's totally pros and cons to each. Like if you do it on the computer, it's really easy to like cut and paste. If you like suddenly like a Facebook post comes out of you, and a lot of my Facebook posts come like that. Like I'm doing my morning pages and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is a good Facebook post. And it's easy to just cut and paste. Whereas if I do it in the notebook, I have to, copy it. But there's pros and cons to each. And I think I get more stress relief when I do it by hand. Like I actually feel like it's more connected to like my authentic voice or something. I don't know what it is, but it's really, really fun to just play around. And I encourage people to do that, like to just really play around. And that's what this is about. It's about play. It's about having fun. And it's just such a powerful way to access your voice. So
yeah,
I love it.
And
go ahead.
I was like, and I think like that dumping, like, I mean, we talk about this in the group too, like that dumping, like kind of frees up that space. So create like the creativity, the thoughtful parts, the more brilliant parts are like able to come out and shine a little bit easier. So that's something I've noticed too, where like the dumping helps to get all the the blocking stuff out of the way, and kind of opens you up to feel like you can be more creative in not just your writing, but in other areas that you might have felt blocked into.
Yeah, yeah. And the analogy I always use is like I have three girls and I have a lot of hair and they all have a lot of hair and our drains are always full of hair. And like you got to pull the hair out if you want the water to flow. And I can literally just like picture myself like pulling hair out of the drain. And it's
Yes.
so true. It's like you can also, yeah, you can utilize it. Like you can do your morning pages and then go and write something else. Like you can almost like make a distinction, like, okay, now I'm doing my morning pages. And then like an hour later, okay, now I'm going to write a Facebook post, and you'll notice your voice is more clear. There's more clarity. There's less of like the pinging around. It's so cool. It's so powerful. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love the morning pages. So
Yeah, you can see the difference, or at least I could, like moving through it. I was like, oh, I feel and see the difference in this.
yeah, yeah. So if anyone's been toying with the morning pages or thinking about it, here's your little nudge to just give them a go. They're really, really
Yes.
powerful. Any last words you want to share with people? Any last thoughts?
Just that this writing group is great. You facilitate it so well, and then like meeting and hearing others write is inspiring, and um, it just helps you feel like you can do it outside the group as well, because you have that support to like lean into when you need it. So I just say, if you haven't done this yet, go for it. Rachel's great, and you'll open up to all sorts of creativity in this group.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, listen to Jenny, guys. Launching next week. I have a couple spots still. So if anyone has been eyeing it, really, it's really a very powerful group. And exactly what Jenny said, the group aspect of it is so powerful because like the morning pages teaches us to feel safe among ourselves, which is where it starts. That's where the safety starts, to be with myself, to be with my writing, to be with my thoughts. And then we grow that capacity for safety by doing it in a group and by reading or writing to a group and by being supported by other people who are on a similar journey. So it's really, really powerful stuff. So thank you for the plug. And then last thing before we hop off, where can people find you and anything coming up in your coaching practice that you want to share?
Okay, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I can put in email at the bottom. And then I would love if you want to experience coaching. I'm on a 100-hour journey of giving free coaching to those who are interested in experiencing it. And I would love for you to reach out and coach you in any areas. It's holistic, so any areas that you're struggling in. And I'm working on a group. It's still in the baby phases, but it's about holistic health and hitting the different areas where we tend to struggle in like sleep or eating nourishing food, and just getting support and having a group to be able to work through all of those things together. So
Ooh, I love it. Like back to basics.
basically back to basics. Yeah. And so I'll put that out there when it's ready to go, and I'm ready to have people to join.
Yeah, and that is such a generous offering. People take her up on it. She's an awesome coach, an awesome human. And yeah, I'm so glad you jumped on this live with me today. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.